When you think about the first time we met, what do you remember?
Ooh, well, the first time we met was when you were born.
And I was like, ta-da!
Not quite, but what I remember pretty distinctly was your father passing out.
Like he fell down?
He was like pretty woozy and was like, I think, sitting on the floor. I really wasn't paying much attention to him after that because you were born pretty fast. And when you were born, I know people probably wouldn't even believe it, but you actually were looking around the room.
Yeah, I was like, what is this
looking
place?
around like, so this is the place? Okay. So that's my memory of when we first met.
That's so funny.
Let's see. Do your best impression of me.
I don't even know because there's so many versions of you. Like, it just depends. Like, if you're like being like a mom, you're like all like uptight and like, oh, hello, and like talking with this really like pastel kind of voice. But if you're like crunk, there are curse words for sure.
Oh, definitely. We have to.
You're like, why would they do that? Or you're like, if we're watching like a video online, you are so interactive as if the video is happening to you. So you're like, what? And why? And how come this is happening? And so that is totally the way you are sometimes.
That's interesting that you'd say I was so animated. I think you're quite animated. An impression of you would be, Mom! That's your first word, and with so much expression. And it always makes me feel like there's some emergency. My adrenaline goes up really fast, and I'm like, what? And you're like, Mom, come and look at this bird outside the window. Like, did you need to be so loud with it? So much emphasis?
What is one topic you are hesitant to talk to me about and why?
Oh, boy.
I love this question.
I know you love that question.
Of course.
Well, we both know the answer to that, the fact that I was adopted. And not only was I hesitant, you didn't know it. I didn't tell any of you anything about it. And the reason that I was so hesitant and didn't want to do it was because I thought you would feel like you didn't have any family, because I know nothing about my birth family. And
well, you don't know very much.
I know, yes, a very small amount, and I have chosen not to pursue finding out more because I just feel very blessed by the family that adopted me and the community that embraced me. And I've always felt like it was disrespectful to them. And I didn't feel like anything was missing. I felt like I hit the jackpot. I had a wonderful family, a mom and a dad and grandparent and aunts and uncles and cousins and a wonderful community that I grew up in. And I just felt no need to look for people who created me, because whatever their circumstances were, they weren't able to become parents for me. They couldn't do it. They had made a decision, and I always felt like they were in the position that if they wanted to find me, they could have, and they did not. So why am I going to go try and find them? I was adopted at 21 days old. As far as I'm concerned, they really, they did the best they could do at the time, and my life began at 21 days, as far as I'm concerned.
It's funny that you're saying like that you still feel like there's like no value essentially in even knowing that. And I think like, I get your perspective about, like, grandma and grandpa were incredible, and, like, our family is really beautiful, and there's all this history, and it's all wonderful, right? And I get that. But I think there's something to knowing, like, the truth about who you are and where you come from. That's really important to me. These stories are important to be like, yeah, my mom was adopted as a result of, like, a legalized racism. Like, that's why she was adopted.
Right.
Like, I don't know who these people are. I don't know what their story is, but I know there was a white girl and a black boy, and that was illegal at the time of your birth.
Absolutely. And dangerous.
Right. And so I think about, like, as the world is attempting to change and grow and evolve, like, you are evidence of the filth of our country. And I think that's important to be honest about. I just think about, like, when my dad told me, the thing that I felt most was, and what I said to you was, I feel like I understand you more than I ever have. Like, I have so much compassion for you because now your story makes sense. The way you show up in the world makes sense to me now. Mm-hmm. And my whole life up until that point, it felt incongruent. I always felt like there was a secret, like there was just something that didn't, like, something just did not make sense to me.
Well, yes, it didn't quite make sense. I mean, you could look at my mom and dad and how in the world could I have been born to them?
Right, but that's the story
you
asked us to believe.
I know.
And of course, we're children, so we did believe you.
Right.
And so now we're, like, in the world lying without knowing that we're lying. And to me, all of that is, like, so unnecessary because I don't have to have any shame about who I am or whose I am, right? But there's something about the way the story was being passed down that was inherently passing on shame in a really passive way, right? Like, we can honor and acknowledge grandma and grandpa and, like, the commitment that they made and the choice that they made to, like, adopt you in a time period where that was dangerous for them also.
Right.
To, like, have this very light-skinned child and they're, like, brown people living in a state that doesn't want mixing. Like, that was dangerous for them to do. And I think that speaks to the character of these people that raised you even more so. And, like, those are the things I want to celebrate. Those are the stories I want to tell about our family, not like, oh yeah, this is my grandma and grandpa, and it, like, doesn't actually make any damn sense.
Yeah. It just was such a touchy subject, and I guess I was also responding to my mom, who was so afraid that I would search out my birth parents and basically abandon her. She was always very afraid of that. And I think that's why I just tried to erase the truth of it and just not embrace that at all. And I just erased it for you guys too. I just made a unilateral decision and decided these are your people and you're not going to know about the others. And hopefully you'll just believe this story. I just stuck with it. It's kind of like when you start a lie, you'd have to keep telling that lie. And I just kept telling it because I was afraid of what the outcome would be.
But I think, like, to me, the most powerful thing about this whole story, and, like, I even got a tattoo on my arm about, you know what I mean? Like, I think what's powerful about it is that it's actually made us much closer and, like, allowed space for more stories and, like, the reality of who we are to be known instead of, like, this, like, fictitious story. Because, like, I just think about so many people I know, like, their parents die and they go through the house and they find all this stuff and they're like, my parents have been lying to me my whole life.
And it's like keeping secrets. And that it's not
Yeah, but
good.
that's a lie.
Yeah, it is.
And so now on top of mourning your death, I now have to reconcile that my parents thought it was okay to lie to me for my entire life. Like, that is, like, just mind-boggling to me.
Well, and then you can't have a conversation with them about why, because they're gone now.
Right.
If you've done a good job raising your child, you should trust that they're going to accept you with all your flaws. We don't have to be perfect.
Well, and the only way to accept you is to actually know you.
Right, right.
So, like, if your kid doesn't like you, but they don't also know you either,
right?
Like, yeah, you might want to start with, like, unpacking some things and, like, revealing yourself. And I mean, I think that's true of every relationship. It's not just true of, like, our relationship or like parents and children.
Yeah.
Like that's everyone. If you want people to know you and love you and really honor you, they have to know you.
Right. You have to be honest. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey guys, Melanie again. Thank you so much for watching. Currently on the set of The And. If you want to bring these conversations at home, check it out at our shop. And if you want to watch more of our videos, check it out below. Thanks.